Hi, my name is Amber. Welcome back to my channel, Books and Beaches. So it is time to talk about all of the books that I read in the month of December. So it's a little bit later than I normally do these videos, but I wanted to make sure that I got most of my wrap-up videos done for 2023 and then kind of start off the year with what my plans were for 2024. But I always like doing my monthly wrap-up videos, so here we are. But I was able to read 11 different pieces of work, or I guess most of them were novels, in the month of December, which is a fantastic number, partly because the end of December was winter break, which gives me ample time to read. Otherwise, I just probably wouldn't have gotten that many in. But I am so glad I did, because one of my favorite books of the year ended up being in December. So that was pretty exciting. The rest of the month was so-so. And now as I'm looking back at this list, you can tell they were so-so because I'm trying and struggling to remember details of some of these books, which I guess says something. So let's go ahead and get started and just take a look at what I read through. Now, most of these are going to be images and screenshots of the books, because most of them I read on my Kindle, and 2 I didn't, and currently 1 I have loaned out. So it just is what it is. All right, so the very first one that I finished in the month of December was Christmas Presents by Lisa Unger. This was a book that I got off of NetGalley, and I was pretty excited because I like Lisa Unger's writing. I have really enjoyed things I've read by her in the past, and this one ended up being a little disappointing. Basic premise of the story is we have like a true crime podcaster coming in, trying to look into this cold case of, we have basically like a one girl who survived, and 2 of her friends. There was a disappearance of 2 friends, and I think 1 friend or 2 friends died. I'm re-looking at the summary on Goodreads because I'm trying to remember. Our main character, Madeline, runs a bookshop, and he's trying to get her to come on his podcast show, and she's not real into it. But he's trying to figure out, like, was the guy that was convicted really guilty or not? And so, you're just trying to figure out, like, what went on all of these years ago. And I said it in my review, and I'll kind of say it here. I thought this was basically a little bit disjointed. It was told through multiple perspectives, and I just didn't think it was laid out very well. And I caught on to who the killer actually was right away through this like very minuscule like clue, which maybe is because I read too many thrillers, but I don't know, like I just thought it was a little too obvious in my opinion. And that's all I'm gonna say. Like, I'm not gonna reveal it, but and I did write in my review for a book that's titled Christmas Presents. The actual piece of the story that involves the title was just so little that I wasn't really sure why it was called that. So I will leave that. That is all I'll say about that one. So I gave it a 3. It was all right, but I think there are definitely other books by Lisa Unger out there that are much, much better. After that, I picked up, I think, what would you call it, like an epistolary novel that was called Love and Saffron. I am part of a book club of a few women that we all kind of met at one of the BookTube Besties retreats. And so we pick a new book every month to read, and this was the pick for the month of December. And so we met and talked about it at the beginning of the month. And these are 2 women that wrote, it's a novel, but the 2 women wrote letters back and forth to each other. And I believe the one was a fan of one of the writers. One woman was a writer and the other one was a fan. And they just wrote back and forth to each other. And, basically we're pen pals throughout each other's lives. And I do believe at one point they end up meeting. And it was just kind of a cute, interesting way to see the development between these 2 women's lives. So I thought it was good. It wasn't like mind-blowing by any means. I gave it a 3, and that's not a bad rating by any means. It's not my top style of novels for sure. but I don't think it was bad. So I'll leave it at that. After that, I picked up, I believe it's considered a novella, and this was The Christmas Guest by Peter Swanson. I think it was available on Everand, so I was like, ooh, I want to pick it up. And so I listened to this one, and this was basically an American student who's going to school in London, gets invited to spend Christmas with a girl she goes to school with, and it is kind of this like crazy journey of the things that happen while she's staying with her friend at her friend's house. And yeah, it's for a novella. There was a lot that happened in this book, and the different relationships between the people in this house, and especially the friend that she's staying with, her brother, and there's a lot of secrets and a lot of things going on. And so this one I did enjoy. I gave this one a 4. I definitely liked it a lot better than Christmas Presents by Lisa Unger. So if I had to pick between the two, because they were both more on the shorter side for kind of like Christmas thrillers, I would say this one was definitely my favorite between the two. So there was that one. After that, I also picked up another book that I had off of NetGalley, and this one I had for quite some time. I actually can't believe how long I probably had this one sitting on my NetGalley, because now if I look to see when this one actually came out, this one came out back in 2021. So more than likely this one was sitting on my shelves for an embarrassingly long time. But anyway, this was Golden Girl by Ellen Hilderbrand, and I guess at the time I must have gotten this one, I hadn't read anything by Ellen Hilderbrand before. And now that I have a better appreciation for her writing. And I really enjoyed this one, especially because this is a lot different than the other books by Ellen Hilderbrand that I've read. This is basically told from the perspective of a woman who, in the very beginning of the book, dies. And she's out for a run, and she dies. And so you are seeing her kind of live this life from, I guess, we would call it like pre-heaven. She's getting, I think it's like a 90-day opportunity to kind of view what happens to her family after she dies. And so we're getting her perspective, as well as 2 of her daughters and her son, and everything that's happening in the time after she passes. And it was just a very powerful look at how people deal with grief, and just the things that are going on in like this, because it happens in Nantucket. So just this like very small town life, and like any other Ellen Hilderbrand, there's a lot of drama going on and things like that. So I just really enjoyed it because it was a lot different than some of the other ones that I read by her. So I gave it a 4 because there were things that weren't perfect about it, but it went pretty deep in some topics that I was pretty surprised. So, and the main character, the one that does end up dying, is a novelist, and so it's kind of interesting because you can tell that Ellen Hilderbrand kind of wrote a little bit of herself maybe into that character. So I did enjoy that one, and I'm glad I finally picked that up off my NetGalley shelf. So after that, I stuck on the NetGalley train. I was finishing the year strong. Kindle always has, you know, the Kindle challenges going on, and so I was all gung-ho about keeping those numbers up. And so I picked up another book that I had off of NetGalley, and that was Mame. I also ended up listening to this one because I believe this one is also on Everand, which was really neat because our main character lives in, I think, just outside of London, and her mom is from, I forget which part of Africa. And so you're getting a lot of, you know, the different accents and things like that. And it is such an interesting perspective on the female main character and the place that she holds in her family. She, you know, her mom is still married to her dad, but decides to leave for years at a time to go back. I think she was from Ghana. So she goes back to Ghana. Her dad is, Now I can't remember if it was Alzheimer's. Now if I look here, Parkinson's, I apologize. And so she's helping take care of him. Her brother's kind of out of the picture. He's not really helping the family at all. And so she has all this weight on her shoulders as a 25-year-old trying to take care of her family. And she finally gets an opportunity to move out because her mom is coming back to London for a year to help take care of her family. Now, there were things that bugged me about it because I thought she seemed a little naive for a 25-year-old. And so just little things here and there that I was like, I find that slightly unbelievable, but that's me talking from my experience. Someone else may connect with those experiences. I can't be 100% certain. But otherwise, I could definitely appreciate that story. And I gave it a 4. And I think listening to it was definitely, you know, a positive experience and a positive part of rating that so highly. So there was that one. After that, I picked up another one of my books that made it into my best books of 2023, and that was My Darling Girl by Jennifer McMahon. Whew, this book. The whole time reading this book, I wasn't really sure how I was going to rate it, and the ending, like I said in my end of the year review, the ending got me. This book is about a woman who, growing up, had a terribly abusive relationship with her mother. Her mother was not good to her. Just horribly abusive relationship. And she finds out that her mother is dying, and her mother's last wish is to, for the last weeks of her life, she move in with her daughter and kind of spend that time with her daughter and her family. And so her daughter agrees reluctantly. And when she moves in with her daughter, crazy things start happening, like scary, crazy things. And they don't know why. And that's kind of all I'm going to tell you, because it's a lot, but I loved it. I really, really liked it. I have loved a lot of things by Jennifer McMahon, and yeah, this one was the same. So gave that one a 5. I was so happy because, like I said, this year has been a lot of like 3s and 4s this half of the year, and so it was nice to just really like get a 5 in there, and it just, whew, yeah, crazy. So after that, I picked up another one that I had on NetGalley, and this one was very time appropriate because it dealt with the holidays. I had The Santa Suit from Mary-Kate Andrews, and this one I knew it probably wasn't going to be a genre for me, but I read it anyways. Was it cute? Was it sweet? Sure. We have a woman that is moving to a small town after her divorce, and in her house, she finds basically this Santa suit and like a Mrs. Claus suit. And her house is known to be like this house where this couple lived who decorated every year. And it was this couple that like basically brought Christmas to this small town. Everybody came to see the lights on the house every year. They played Santa and Mrs. Claus every year. Like people expected her to like be this couple. And so, you know, it was interesting watching her, you know, find her own in this community. And it's very predictable. It's very like Hallmark movie-esque, and I kind of knew that going in. So I gave it a 3. It's not bad. And if Hallmark movies are right up your alley, it would be a very cute holiday read. So take my rating with a grain of salt, because it is what it is. But it was timely for the season. So after that, like I said, I was sticking with the NetGalley, sticking with my Kindle, because it was just kind of the mood that I was in. And I picked up a YA book, actually, that, like I said, I had on NetGalley. And I will describe this as my perfect kind of YA. And as you know, that's probably going to be a thriller. And this one had mystery and, you know, like high prep school academy, like written all over it. And you know at the beginning that someone has died, but you don't know who it is. And the book is told through multiple perspectives, but not too many perspectives, because one of the very first books now that I read in 2024 also had perspectives, but it was too many. We'll be talking about that in January. But this had just enough to keep you intrigued, and you're trying to figure out this whole time, because you know at this famous ball someone dies. And so you're getting several days leading up to it and all of the events that are taking place, you know, the perspective of each of these individuals. And so they are trying to get a membership to the Legacy Club. And so they have to compete basically and participate in all of these events to try to get this membership. And it comes with a prize, I think it's like $25,000. And most of these kids in this club already have a lot of money. And then one of our characters is like a scholarship student who really could use the money. And so with all of these different perspectives, everybody looks a little guilty. And so like I said, that's just my favorite kind of YA thriller, because there's all these little red herrings in there where you're starting to suspect everyone. And yeah, at the end, I didn't know exactly who had done it. So I really, really enjoyed that one. I gave it a 4. I think I even in my review kind of said, if I look here, I was leaning even towards like a 4.5. There were a few things that I was like, I don't know if a high schooler would do that or not. But yeah, really quite enjoyed it. And it would be one that I think for certain, especially at the middle school level, I would recommend it to like some of our more advanced readers for sure. All right, after that, I picked up a good old gold standard. I picked up Never Lie by Frida McFadden. And this one, I specifically wrote in my review, I thought I had it figured out, but I didn't. And that is my favorite thing about Frida. I always think I know what her twist is going to be, and I don't. This one, we start with a couple who is driving out in this winter storm to look at a mansion that they're hoping to buy. They are a fairly newlywed couple. I think, they've been married like 6 months or so, and they're looking to buy this house. And they know this house has been empty for a while. It was a former, I think, psychologist's house, and this psychologist has gone missing, but I think they were presuming she was dead, and they think the boyfriend did it, kind of thing. And so you're getting that current perspective, and you're also getting chapters from the psychologist in the past. And so you're trying to figure out, like, where is this going to go? Our female main character find tapes from the psychologist where she taped her patients. And so you're like, you know, are these patients some of these people that are in the house? And it just very twisted. Like I said, I thought I had it figured out, and I did not. So gave that one a 4. It was great. That is what I go to Frida McFadden for. Just a good, quick thriller that keeps me guessing. So I can't complain there. After that, I picked up one of my favorite books of the year, and I don't have it here with me because I have already loaned it out at this point, and that is The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. I love this one, and then like I said in my year-end review, this was like a good hug in a book. It gave me House in the Cerulean Sea vibes, not in that the themes are similar, just in the feeling that I got when I read it. We have our main character, who I believe's name is Lucy, who is trying to adopt a student at her school named Christopher. She just can't afford it, and gets an opportunity to be part of a contest to win the rights to her favorite author's new book, in hopes that she'd be able to sell it, and then she would have the money to adopt Christopher. And so she goes to this island to try and win this contest, and the craziness that ensues from there. And I just loved it. So I could not wait to put it in somebody else's hands. So it is already with one of my coworkers, and I truly hope she's enjoying it. So needless to say, that was a 5-star read. And then I ended the year with my in-person book club, our January pick. So I wanted to make sure I had it read, because we are actually meeting this week. And that was All the Little Raindrops, and I believe that is by Mia Sheridan. That was an interesting book. It is full of trigger warnings, so if you're going to choose to pick up this book, I highly suggest you look those up. The beginning is extremely violent. We have two teenagers who have been taken and captured and put in cages and are being sold basically to the highest bidder to be tortured and pinned against each other and a lot of other things that I'm not even going to say here. And I don't even know if I want to reveal a lot more than that, because I didn't know a lot more than that going into this book. And I feel like you shouldn't either, because the book goes a lot more than that. But I think it's a book that you have to kind of go into without knowing too much. So I will leave it at that. If you want to know more, obviously I will link it below, and I think you can look into it if you do want to. I really enjoyed the beginning of this book, and I thought the last quarter of the book was very good. I found the middle of the book to be a little slow, and I thought there were just parts that probably didn't need to be included. That is my own personal opinion. I am super, super curious to see what my book club members think. I've seen a few of the reviews on Goodreads, so we shall see what people have to say. So I gave this one a 3.5 because it wasn't that I didn't enjoy parts of it. I just found myself in the middle of it, not wanting to pick it up in the middle. Because if the book would have been like the beginning and the end, and in those sections of the book, I would have flown through it. So, needless to say. But it has phenomenal reviews all over Goodreads. So, take my review with a grain of salt. But those are all the books that I picked up in the month of November. What did you read in the month of November? Anything that I should add to my list? As always, if you like this video, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.